Welcome back to Short Games Reviews. It's the end of the year and everyone's been posting their PlayStation wrap-ups, with some spending thousands of hours into one title alone. 1,000 hours could literally be 100 games if they're 10 hours or less. I played a lot of indie games last year, titles I would have never even downloaded for free, and I got some good news for you. Indie is the home of innovation and nostalgia. I was going to do a tier list, but let's just give you the best of the best right away. All these games are available on the PSPlus Extra Catalog. Celeste is at the top of the list. At 13 hours, it's one of the longest on this list, but I just had to include it. Its pixel art and tight controls shine as you navigate increasingly difficult levels filled with creative obstacles and solutions. The game will give you that nostalgia hit, but will also test your decreasing with age reflexes. The story is a unique one, exploring themes of mental health and self-discovery. You will die a lot, but once you get good at this game, you'll feel like a speedrunner, and other platformers will be a breeze. It can get even harder if you wanted to, and you like pie. Rez Infinite. Okay, this one is weird, and at first glance, it should not be near the top of the list. It looks like something straight out of the failed Nintendo Virtual Boy project, but I can't describe the feeling of first playing it. I don't know if it's Tron related, but something about the music, extremely limited graphics, and the rail shooting just hits a part of the brain that makes it somehow immersive. This game should have been released in the early 1990s, and I'm including it here, not only because of its unusually high critic score, but because I want to demonstrate that if you care about graphics, I got some bad news for you for the rest of the video. Continuing our trend of games with a high rating that don't take advantage of the PS5 hardware but are super great is Slay the Spire. This is a strategic deck building roguelike. I hope you like Magic the Gathering and doing quick math in your head. You collect unique decks and face new enemies every time you play. It is turn-based combat. This game has peak replayability not only because it's a roguelike and you never get the same game twice, but because it's so easy to pick up and play. It is both challenging and addicting as heck. Finally, we got a game on the top of the list that takes advantage of not only of PS5's amazing graphics hardware, but also takes advantage of the DualSense controller. This is one of the best games for the controller outside of Astro, a true next-gen experience. The main thing this game likes to show off is the lack of loading times. Because of its multiverse story, the game hops between levels instantly. The vibrant landscapes, guns, and characters are pretty memorable, and you will 100% try to 100% this game. Yes, technically you can beat it and call it a short game, but you'll want to come back for more. It has the most creative guns I've ever seen in any game too. On the second playthrough, not only do you get to keep your maxed out guns, but you also unlock new ones. Okay, back to bad graphics but addicting gameplay. It's just Tetris, right? I don't know why, but the music in this game adds so much immersion. There is multiplayer, co-op, and competitive, and an increasingly difficult campaign, if you want to call it that. There's not much more to say about Tetris, you know what it is. Just download it and play it for 5 minutes. If you don't get hooked, uninstall it. It's a small game, but it'll keep you hooked, and it's quite challenging, especially when you get to the end. What Remains of Edith Finch. This is the game I compare all short games to. You explore your family tree and an old house, each room belonging to a different relative. While the gameplay itself is limited in the walking sim portion, the story packs a punch. I've never seen any other short game deliver such a punch when it comes to storytelling. You'll remember this for a long time. But unlike other walking sims, this one turns into different mini-games throughout, so it's constantly evolving in its short runtime. Each relative's room you visit will have their final letter, and you get to experience their final moments and demise. It is grim, but really good about dealing with grief. Towerfall Ascension. This is the game Celeste creators did before making Celeste, so it has that same energy. Very simple graphics, but challenging and rewarding gameplay. No crazy story here, just early NES level of platforming. Think Bubble Bubble, but with arrows and multiplayer. It's a lot harder than it looks. Play this with your friends and the game will truly shine. Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons. This game is a game. A fully playable and realized action-adventure game that gets things done in a very short runtime. But there's something truly unique about this game. It has two characters, and they are both controlled at the same time. One with the right stick and the other with the left stick. Your brain will eventually get used to it, and the story will keep you engaged the whole way through. It's essentially a mini God of War, but with less violence and machismo. It's a sad story and packs an emotional punch that you will remember. Definitely beat this one. It'll only take one sitting. Inscryption. Oh look, another roguelike deck building game, but this one has something in its pocket for you. There's puzzle solving and multiple unexpected twists. It's eerie and almost horror themed, and once you beat it, your eyes will finally be opened. It gets really weird, like unsettling weird. I can't say too much about this game without spoiling it, but it has way much to offer than you think it does. It is both compelling and creepy. I wish I can say what happens, but you'll have to discover it yourself. Trust me, all is not what it seems. Spider-Man Miles Morales. Alright, we're back to games that look like actual PS5 games. This should be one of your first games to play on the PS5. Ray tracing, performance mode, fidelity mode, super smooth New York City skyline to conquer. If you played the original Spider-Man for PS4 and are starting this one on the PS5, you'll have one surprise to look forward to. The subway scenes. In the PS4 version, to fast travel, you take the subway, and an entertaining cutscene will keep you distracted for a minute. But in this version, there are no such scenes. Fast travel is instant. Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. I did a whole video on how this is almost a perfect game. It has everything it promised it would have. It's an action-packed beat-em-up that perfectly captures the arcade games of the same name. They even got the original voice cast to come back. This is the ultimate game to play if you only have 10 minutes of gaming. The levels are about 8 minutes max, and they're very fast-paced. Its multiplayer system makes it amazing. The only drawback making it not perfect is the lack of crossplay support. I am so happy I got to play this game. I was over Skyrim mods and they seemed so dated, but this game did its research. It falls into my favorite genre of games/movies, time loops. You experience the same day over and over again and try to prevent things from happening and also figure out the biggest mystery of them all. This game will teach you a lot about Romans, Greeks, and much more. It's another game where you can play for just a one-day cycle and put it down. Also, I really like how creative it was about having to repeat yourselves to NPCs every time. Resogun. From the makers of Returnal comes Resogun. If you like particle physics and challenging gameplay, you're in luck. This game, I believe it came out when the PS4 came out. It is a fast-paced shoot-'em-up game set in a cylindrical world. The boss levels are no joke. This is a short game, but it's going to take you a few too many tries to beat it. This game jumped up 6 points since first playing it, and now it's in the 80s. Personally, I really liked it. I tried to get into other biking games, but I just couldn't. This one rewards exploration. It's not about tricks or big air, but landing safely and taking risks. The tiniest little bump will make you crash, but you're expected to make these huge jumps. It's very relaxing to play as you discover your own way of going down the mountain. You can follow the path for a safer route, but it will cut into your lap time. You can jump and take risks, but it will lead to more crashes. Each method has its own rewards. I had no idea what to expect with this game. It had a 74 Metacritic rating last year. I finally played it, I checked the score on Metacritic again, and it's up to 84 now. What happened? It is a weird game to explain. You are going through someone's computer and you play the game by typing out keywords to search for. You have access to about 180 videos or so to truly make sense of the story. But in order to find all the videos, you have to know what keywords to use. This is the first game I've seen use the type feature outside of chat and as an actual gameplay mechanic. Starring not Tom Hardy. This one is going to sucker punch you. On the outside, it's beautiful. Looks like a Pixar movie. The graphics are amazing and the characters are so cute and it's fun and so kid-friendly. And then you get to the bosses. This is Souls level boss difficulty. There's barely any healing and you have to dodge a lot and outmaneuver them. It is a very difficult game. You just don't see it coming at all. Playing it feels like a mix of playing Horizon and God of War. Overcooked 2, or the divorce simulator as I like to call it. Play this with your partners to test your communication skills. You will yell and scream and panic a lot. If you've ever worked a kitchen during a rush hour, prepare yourselves to get triggered for the fun of it. It's fun, right? You have to decide who preps, who cooks, who serves, and even who cleans the dishes, and the rice will get burnt. The only thing that sucks about this game is the single player. I wish it had that whole each stick controls a different character thing from Brothers. Highly replayable and a great party game. Okay, this one was a weird one. I kept seeing good reviews and I didn't really get it. It didn't look that good, and it's just a Guitar Hero but with Avicii songs. But I don't know. As soon as I started playing it, I was bopping along and was so immersed. I don't even like this kind of music, but I was eventually singing along. There's something addicted about it that I just don't understand. You just gotta try it. Okay, this one is basically a 3D ninja version of Celeste, a very difficult platformer where you will die lots. It's a lightning-fast first-person action game set in a cyberpunk world full of intense parkour and combat. I'm not used to 3D platformers being this difficult, but it was such a blast to play. The graphics look great too on the PS5, so if you like the idea of the other games on this list, but can't get behind the nostalgic and outdated graphics, give this one a try. You can die as much as 100 times in just one level. This one is so unique. It ingeniously combines both 2D and 3D gameplay. You control a stick figure that navigates through interconnected signs and symbols. You rearrange these signs in a way to make your stick figure progress through these levels. These puzzles will test your logic, creativity, and spatial awareness. It's not that hard, but you can get stuck a few times. Please play this until the end. There's a special surprise waiting for you that will truly make this game unique. I've already said too much. Yay, my favorite genre, time loops. Well, this isn't exactly a typical time loop because it's not only knowledge you get to keep, but also items. Oh, forgot to mention the title. Yeah, you have 1 minute to beat the game. You die every minute. So because you get to keep your items, you have 1 minute to get that one item that will let you progress. If you do find places to sleep, it will reset your spawn point. So at least that allows the map to be much bigger. This is a very small game because of its limited graphics. Give it a try if you have a minute to spare. Untitled Goose Game. What's more to say? You already know what this is. You're a goose who's a jerk. Playful chaos in an English village. Lots of puzzles and annoying honking to ruin people's day. There's a checklist of things you have to do, and you can do them in any order. It's funny and whimsical. Play this with a friend so you can cause double the chaos. If you're like me, you stopped playing Far Cry after 4, maybe even 3. It went downhill after that. This is a standalone expansion to 3 that's super 80s and silly. Retro futurism, neon lights, and cyber dinosaurs. What more could you ask for? There's even a pixelated sex scene in there. It's over-the-top 80s action hero adventure that's both humorous and self-aware. Give this a try if you're badass enough. This is a weird but beautiful blend of a 2D platformer and Guitar Hero. It's very story-centric, so don't expect too much challenging gameplay. But do put on headphones for some amazing music and creativity. It's a psychedelic music adventure that follows the nephew of a Bob Dylan type who's playing this little music fest in his hometown. He thinks he's not good enough to come out of the shadow of his uncle. But, long story short, he goes to space and jams with aliens. I assume everyone's on drugs. This is a minimalist platform puzzle game with an unexpected charm and personality. The main characters are square, rectangle, and taller rectangle, featuring guest cameos by fat rectangle and other shapes. The whole shtick of this game is controlling each one separately and seeing how the shapes can help each other to get to the end of the level. Curse to Golf. This one's for that extremely niche group of nerds that love roguelikes but also love golf, when and if they ever touch grass. It has everything you expect from a roguelike, but golf. Procedurally generated courses, and golf. Quirky storylines, and golf. Battling monsters, and golf. It's entertaining and unpredictable. It's actually pretty fun to play. Okay, let's take a break from the review for a second to talk about the Metacritic score. Now, I see a lot of people online say, this game got a 72, that's way above average. But the thing is with averages in video game scores is there are barely any games under 50, so 50 is not the average. I would say the average is closer to a mid-70s. So any game that's below, let's say 72, it's usually pretty bad. So keep this in mind as we're talking about Metacritic scores. Because just like before when we left Blood Dragon, we're about to leave the 80s. Until Dawn is basically a playable movie. It is one of the best these types of movie horror game mashups. It goes downhill from there. This game, compared to others, has a lot more gameplay mechanics and a more interesting story. It has branching narratives, real actors, and a really cinematic presentation. The graphics are a bit dated, but it's definitely still playable. The newer ones, like The Quarry, look a lot better, but missed some of the pizzazz that this one had. See my video on horror games for a more in-depth look into these titles. No, it's not a horror game. This is actually a quaint and cute puzzle game exploring the afterlife. The gameplay mechanic revolves around seeing through objects and uncovering hidden stories and memories attached to them. Its art style is charming, but not for everybody. It's a touching narrative about life, memory, and the connections we leave behind. Sackboy. This is one of the best 3D platformers on the PS5. It is polished and stylish. There's platforming challenges, puzzles, boss fights, and even supports co-op. Its visuals are charming and its music is unexpected. You're in the middle of a game and suddenly an actual top 40 song will start to play. They must have had quite the budget just to be able to feature those. This is the closest thing PlayStation has to a Mario type game. Carto. This is a charming puzzle adventure game with a unique twist. You can rearrange the map. At first, it seems like a fun trivial thing, but when it's required to actually solve puzzles, you'll start to scratch your head and realize it's a lot harder than you initially thought. You place and rotate different tiles of the map to unlock new ones. The story is very wholesome and the game is strangely relaxing. Okay, I already did this one in the horror games video, but I will reiterate that this one was my favorite short game that looked like a full game. It's atmospheric horror, but not shooty. It's pretty run-of-the-mill when you start. You are investigating a murder in an apartment building complex. You get stuck in this complex, but what makes this protagonist unique is his ability to tap into memories and dreams. It gets really weird, like psychological horror, gore, adult themes. Definitely not for kids, but definitely for people who love Blade Runner. The Garden Between, a sweet little puzzle game that will only take 2 hours to platinum. A coming-of-age story of two preteens going down memory lane. One controls time, and the other one can manipulate the space around them. You don't really platform in this game, you can only rewind and forward time. So you gotta be thinking outside the box a little. Cute and wholesome. Abzu. From the makers of Journey comes this underwater adventure. This is top tier relaxing content. There's even a meditate button where you can chill and observe all the fishes swimming around you. It's like an underwater documentary, but there are some secrets to explore in the caves that makes this game a little bit more than just marine life. My Friend Pedro. This feels like a Flash game that would have came out 10 to 15 years ago. Bloody, gory, action-packed shooter platformer. It'll make you go bananas. It's like a shooting game mixed with a skateboarding game. Acrobatic and wild. You can do slow motion stunts, turns, and flips, and also double aim your pistols. You can even throw a frying pan in the air and let the bullet ricochet off it, taking down your foes. It's a crazy ride. Not for everyone, but pretty decent game. This is an emotionally powerful puzzle adventure game set during World War I. Intertwined stories of people from both sides of the war. It really focuses on the human aspect and the harsh realities of war. It blends fictional and historical events, highlighting the human cost and suffering that happens during wartime. It's not just shooty. It has real photos too to help educate everyone about a war that happened 100 years ago. I really wanted to like this game. I love the story, I love the setting. I used to go to Toronto all the time and love all the shoutouts to the favorite iconic spots. It's a classic beat 'em up and my first playthrough took forever. And then I learned I actually need to visit the food stand and merch shops to upgrade my character, which made things a lot easier. And then I got to the second boss. Game crashes. Tried it again 4 times. Game crashes. Uninstalled, download it, tried it with a new character. As soon as I beat the vegan ex-boyfriend, game crashes. I hope this one works for you because it seemed like a good game. 1111. Another game about war. These two were in my November video, so go there for a more in-depth analysis. The game focuses on two sides of the war, Canada and Germany. Two people who don't want anything to do with the war and how their stories will mesh together. Starring Frodo Baggins as the Canadian. Creative, impressionist art style and a solid emotional story. Hue. This game is great. It's a Metroidvania, but instead of power-ups and abilities, you just get more hues, or colors. The new colors will unlock new areas and even help with the platforming. A really unique gameplay mechanic. Imagine if this was in 3D. Chia. Bit of a longer short game, but great first start for a tiny studio. A great story that features Islander Aboriginal culture and makes people aware of a new part of the world they might not have heard of before. Unique gameplay mechanic featured here is the ability to soul jump into animals and objects. So you get to play as the animals, birds, fishes, and even rocks and inanimate objects. Great story and an amazing soundtrack. Oh, almost forgot to mention the fully playable ukulele. Sniper Elite 5. I never played these types of games before, but this was just as good, if not better, than any Call of Duty campaign. You felt a bit OP, taking over a whole level by yourself, but that's what video games do best. Set in World War II, obviously. The graphics were great and the movement and gameplay was pretty decent. It has a classic bullet cam, which is cool at first, but you're likely to skip it after an hour. Deliver Us the Moon. Okay, this one space game everyone talks about and hypes up and recommends, but I didn't think it was that good. There are so many better space games that do it much better, so let's skip this one. Literally the only footage I have from this game is the trophy videos that got accidentally auto-captured. Sorry, I just have a personal thing against this game. Tacoma. Very similar to the last one. If I showed you the two clips side by side, they'd feel like the same thing. You explore a space station where something went wrong, which is the premise of Deliver Us of the Moon, but instead of hearing audio logs, in this game you get to virtually see their holograms. The holograms allow you to see valuable information that's missing from just audio files. It's really neat because you get to see the main conversations and then you follow them to the other rooms after the conversation and see them plotting and whatnot. It really makes it way more dramatic. Omno. What a relaxing, serene game. You're a lone traveler in a mystical and diverse landscape. You explore ancient ruins, forests, and along the way you uncover secrets of a forgotten world. You also gain new powers along the way, making the game much more interesting. It's just you and nature. Very comforting and relaxing. Ghostwire Tokyo, another game that got so much hype. Action adventure set in a supernatural Tokyo where the city is overrun by spirits and paranormal forces. You're a detective and an exorcist? I don't know, but you basically capture spirits and then put them in a phone booth. I've played it so many times but just can't get into it. The graphics are absolutely amazing and next gen, but I can't help but to think, I wish I was playing Yakuza with these graphics. Maybe someday soon I'll beat it, but it's just so draining for me. Observation. Here's another space game that's better than Deliver Us the Moon. Observation. This one does something no others have tried. You play as the AI of the ship, not the humans. You're literally the AI from 2001 Space Odyssey. I wish they threw a "I can't let you in, Dave" in there somewhere. It has a lot of interesting puzzle solving and space technobabble, but it's quite immersive. The story takes a turn you wouldn't expect. There are certain parts where you control a drone bot, so there are physical exploration bits outside of just reading things. Gives off Interstellar vibes too. Okay, this one seems like shovelware, and it probably is, but it's so short I can't really talk bad about it. This feels like a racing game that would have came out on Sega Saturn. It's very retro and huge pixels, but was pretty fun to play. It kind of reminds me of Virtua Fighter graphics. It has great controls and responsive driving. I can't complain for such a short game. Lost Words Beyond Page. This one was unique. I want to recommend it for your kids, if you have any, because it's so cute and wholesome, but it also deals with grief and death. Basically, you play inside a girl's diary, playing with words and using those words to unlock puzzles. And then at the end of the diary section, you get to play a typical platformer. The girl is writing the story they get to play in, so you get to change the direction of the story here and there. It gets points for creativity. Moving out. I have to apologize, the only footage I have of this game is from the final boss, so sorry about the spoiler. The main game is just moving furniture into your moving van. You throw it around without a care, breaking glass and causing mayhem and trying to beat the time limit. There's even Seinfeld references, so this game gets a win from me. Infamous First Light. If you like the Infamous games, try this short title. It's a great throwback and pretty hefty for a short game. Unlock new abilities and take on challenges. You feel pretty OP and the story's pretty decent too. Bad North. Real-time strategy game with minimalistic aesthetic yet challenging gameplay. It's a roguelike but also tower defense, if you want to call it that. You save a house, you get a coin. You use coins to buy new abilities. It actually gets pretty hard to beat. Matterfall. Between Resogun and Returnal, the same studio came out with a 2D action platformer. Play this after you beat Returnal to see where all the abilities come from. It's so fun watching these short games progress their ideas into one epic one. I know it's short games and all in here, but go play Returnal, even if you suck at it. It's worth the pretty views and the feedback on the controller. Transference. Okay, another weird one. This one feels like it should be a VR game. I think it is actually. It's a psychological thriller that blurs the lines between digital and real world. It has live action and video games. You interact with the environment and uncover secrets. It has intense psychological moments, yet innovative gameplay. Give it a try. It's very short and weird. Human Fall Flat. Ideal podcast game. Just be silly and have fun with this. You control each hand with a different button, and you get to ragdoll across this very silly and minimalistic universe. Erica. Okay, I said Until Dawn was a playable movie, but I take it back. This is an actual movie with very few choices, and then those choices play a different branch of the movie. When I first loaded this, I thought, wow, this game has amazing graphics. But then I realized it was just a movie. Points get taken off because it's meant to be played with your phone, and the app is already taken off from the app stores. Adrift. Okay, this game had a 59 score at some point. I don't understand the hate. It is much better than Deliver Us the Moon. It has amazing graphics, the best space graphics I've ever seen on the PS5, and it's at the bottom of the list. It has the exact same premise as all the other space games. There's been an accident, so you go up and uncover what happened. But this one actually feels like you're in space. The way you move, the way you float. Why do people hate it? So I read some reviews and people said it was too boring and not action-packed, and it took forever to get around. You're just floating there. You're in space. That's what it's supposed to feel like. This game deserves way more love than all the other space games on this list. The only thing I don't like about it is the stupid one they put in the title. Like, is there an Adrift 2 in the works? What were they trying to accomplish with that? Anywho, this has been a long video. My longest video, but it's taken over a year to make. There are quite a few of these games I didn't get to play because they got added later in the year, and a few great games that I did play and I did not include in this video because they got taken off the extra catalog. Which ones should I have mentioned? Which ones did I miss? Anyway, it's been a long video. Thanks for watching this video, and until next time, be a friend and I'll see you again.